So, my boss, Paul Travel, couldn't be here because he's moving house, and he moved house and found when he moved into his new house that they hadn't moved out yet. So he's a bit upset just now and is trying to work through where he's going to live. I think it might be starting to work itself out, but in the meantime, he's left me with his slides. His slides where he even spells my name wrongly, which he keeps on doing. It's Gilchrist, as in Lord Jesus, not Crest. No idea where that is come from. However, on that front, the thing is, changing a shoestring, the title was my idea, so I'm quite comfortable with that. I thought about playing air on a G string to start with, but I don't know how it goes, so it wasn't a great one. And I am the program manager for the program he's talking about, so I know quite a lot about it. However, the slides, I'm not sure they'd be the slides that I would do, so we'll see how we go with the slides. The other subtitle is Modernizing a Very Manual Student Administration with Very Little Staff Resource. Now, what I know is that some of you will be thinking, God, that is very little staff resource, and others will be thinking, that's a huge team. And I think each institution will feel differently about whether what we've got is a large or a small amount of resources. In 2015, we had a student system which was built on the British model, had a British academic year. It was about 8 years old. It was a banner system, and it worked perfectly adequately for what we were doing with it for the UK. However, it was starting to creak at the edges for a number of reasons. We were international now. We not only opened up a campus in Dubai, we had also opened up a campus in Malaysia. It was clear that a lot of our processes were manual, were clunky, were horrific, and even though we're quite a small university, it seemed to be different everywhere you went. Also, there was a general view that people had given up hope of change. So I had a very small team at that point and had a pile of change requests as long as your arm. And we were working our way through it, but most of the time we had to say no, so people would stop asking. They'd actually stopped asking, and that's a real shame. So, yes, we opened up the Dubai campus in 2005. It's doing very well, 4,000 students. Malaysia in 2012, now with around 2,000 students. Time difference with the UK and Malaysia is 8 hours. So when our working day starts, they're already going home. So when we have late afternoon calls with Malaysia, they look tired and their children are wondering why they're not getting a bedtime story. We also have 3 campuses in Scotland with around 12,000 students. We're now very much a global university, and we even won a Times University, International University of the Year award, which we're very pleased about. Okay, so for an institution of our size, there's far too many manual processes. It's very, very labor intensive, inconsistent, local workarounds. A lot of the software we're using is outdated. And we're not able to meet the needs of being a global university. We have this unique thing we want to sell, which is the idea of a global student who can move very easily between campuses. And we're managing to do that. We're managing to do it at the expense of a lot of staff running around very, very rapidly behind the scenes to try and work out how we reallocate fees, how we reallocate resources, how we make sure that that's a smooth experience for the students involved. The Malaysia campus has really been the thing that's brought it into focus for us, because Malaysia campus being 8 hours ahead, we could work with a few manual processes when Dubai was 4 hours ahead, but with Malaysia, where we're handing over sometimes with no handover, there's zero overlap sometimes, having something where they have to try and work out what to do next doesn't really happen. And also, what is overnight when you've got a university day that spans 3/4 of the day? So for us, actually the best time to do a lot of overnight processes is just after the close of the UK business day. Also, these overnight jobs that were happening, and particularly not working for Malaysia. It says overnight systems batch processing here. If you imagine a student walks in, a potential student walks into a Malaysian university, and in Malaysia, they expect you to be giving them an offer within about an hour. So they've got the money, they've got the qualifications, where's my offer? We have to wait for an overnight batch process to take them up to the CRM. We have to wait for an overnight batch process to then generate them an offer letter. So 2 days later, they have an offer letter, and they've gone somewhere else by that point. So, in summary, our systems are not working smartly for us. We're working very, very hard behind the scenes. That's where we decided to launch a new program of change called the SARP program, the Student Administration Revitalisation program. I've said it many times, each time I struggle with it. And it was my idea as well, so it's my fault for that one. We want to basically build systems that properly support an international university, build systems that are efficient and that actually relieve some of our staff from the burden of this, give people a proper, decent global experience, and also a good student experience no matter which campus they're on. The SARP program is a collection of interrelated projects. There's an enabling project, which is the building the foundations of what we're doing. A lot of it was upgrading all our software. We're 110 upgrades behind, and our IT team did a huge job in actually getting us up to date with them. There was a project called the ARM project for admissions, recruitment and marketing. When we launched Banner, we started with admissions, and it was very, very clunky. It was the worst system that we had in the university, and it was an absolute embarrassment, and it was actually surprising that students managed to get past applying to the university and never came here. I'll go forward too quickly. Also looking at finance processes, student communications and experience, and timetabling, among others. And with oversight of all the projects is a data privacy and reporting strand, because increasingly we have things like the GDPR, we have HISA data futures on the horizon. We have a lot of things where we have to really think carefully across all our strands how we're treating student data and how we're reporting student data. So, here's where it becomes debatable. Is this a shoestring? To us, this felt like a shoestring. A 3-year project, £750,000 a year. We actually have to beg for that £750,000 a year each year. We weren't guaranteed it. We got it for the first year, got it for the second year, and the third year we'll get a reduced sum just to cover staff costs alone. That's to cover staffing, a new system software, modernizing our current software and processes. And we have managed to keep to that budget for the last 2 years. In that, we've delivered an integrated admissions and CRM system, which replaced 3 separate systems that works across all our campuses. It works for the Malaysian model of walk-in offers. It works for the Dubai model, where you've got people who are having to pay by check in advance. We also got the first phase of a student portal. So the student portal is we want the student portal to be the starting point for the students every day at university. They want to start with the portal and then to use the portal to access services, to access information. And a number of workflow developments. Now we're currently working on a student CRM, a revision to the enrollment and course registration, a new academic approvals management system, and we're also continuing to work on workflow automation, timetabling improvements, and document management and reporting. Okay, so there's a lot. I think the thing is about this is that it's a huge scope that we have. It covers every aspect of the university, it covers every aspect of student systems, and we've got a lot to do. So we've done this initially by, I had a team of 3. We've moved up to having another 3 to get 6. Now we get another 3 to get 9 business analysts, and those are a key part of this. We've tried to get people who are inspired, who have come from within the university, almost predominantly from within the university, and people who have ideas about how they could change things. So we're not going for external, we're going for people who want to take a chance and do something quite different in terms of university and in terms of actually making a difference. Apart from the business analysts, the people that we got involved with this project, we've agreed that there's no backfill. So gradually we've brought more and more people into being involved with us in this project. I'm not very good at a chance of explaining it. Okay. We've pretty much gone out there to try and inspire people. So people I've tried to employ have been people who are inspired by what we're doing and have an inspirational attitude towards it. And we brought each area of work, each area is the admissions, or student services, or timetabling. We brought them together in workshops. And those workshops are not talking about how you do things just now, because how they do things just now is disparate, it's clunky, and all we'd be doing is arguing about who's best. We want to think about what is the future, what could the future look like? if you were going to design this from scratch, if you're going to do something where it's actually going to be really good and work for us and work for the students, how would you do this? What are the key elements of doing this? And getting those people in the room and then inspiring them to think about how things could be done differently, how we could actually make a real difference to the university and to students and to ourselves and our own experience, was a really good way of doing this. But it really did rely on the people involved being actually willing to change and inspiring the change. And through that, we asked for them to be involved in getting involved in this program. We didn't say, well, okay, you can do this 1 day a week, and for your 1 day a week, we'll get a back phone, we'll talk to your manager about it. We basically stole time, left, right, and centre. We got people inspired to help us as part of their day jobs, but also talk to their managers about this being part of their day job. Part of their day job was not just to do what they've been doing for decades. Part of their day job was to think about how this could be done better in the future, because that was going to make their job easier in the future. And by doing this and by having this approach, we've managed to get a lot of goodwill on people being involved effectively for free, but not really for free. And they come from all sorts of walks of life. They're not necessarily talking about, a manager or talking about someone young. People often, oh, we need young people. You often find that people who've been working in different areas for a long time are sitting there thinking, I wish things could be done better. They just need an opportunity to say that. Sometimes need to be an opportunity to be involved in making things change. So what I'm trying to get at here is that, we can't afford to go and pay for lots of backfill. We can't afford to say, right, okay, we're going to take 6 of you out and make you work on this for 6 months. We can't afford that. We have to try and make things work and change through goodwill, through thinking carefully about how we're doing, and through using people's skills and enthusiasm to try and make things different. And I think we've been managing to do that very well with the systems we've done so far. I've got no idea where my slides are from that. The Agile methodology that we tried, I'd say there's a lot of things that we did well with that, with trialing Agile methodology. Some of it worked, some of it didn't work. I think that's you can ask questions about that later, but I won't go into that just now. It wasn't entirely successful as the way of doing it. So the other thing that we did is to make sure that this was cross-campus. So we weren't just if we're going to be truly an international university, then we don't release first in Edinburgh and then in Dubai and Malaysia as an afterthought, nor do we went live with our new admission system in Malaysia first. And someone asked me, oh, did you kind of pilot it in Malaysia? No, we didn't pilot Malaysia. We went live in Malaysia first because Malaysia had the biggest need. So it wasn't a pilot, it was a first launch. So kind of global first. And I've actually already said that. Not dwelling on what is, what the future, and engaging people at the relevant stages. And this is about the workshops that we're doing. There was quite a lot of a feedback loop. So not only did we do the workshops, we then said, here's everything you've asked for. And as we go through, we're saying, here's what we've delivered, and here's what we're doing to try and make things better. This has been a successful model, and it has really, for the first time, enthused people. And what we're trying to do now is we're trying to get that enthusiasm into the more difficult group, which is the academics. Now, we've identified a few key academics, but also helped that I actually employed an academic himself as one of the business analysts, and he had the word professor in front of his name. It wasn't professor, a doctor in front of his name. That helped him get access to the academic community. And he also knew how to talk to academics, and knew how to say, I know this sounds really strange, anyone's an academic in here, knowing how to talk to academics, but he knew how to inspire them and how to make them feel that things can get better for them. And we're now getting to a situation where we have the Student Learning Experience Committee, which is an academic group, who are starting to think, actually, we need to think about change for our business processes for academic administration, and then we work with the SARP program, my program, in order to make that change happen. And that's a big change. That's a change for the university. We've suddenly seen where both the academic community and the administrative community and the leadership are all thinking that we need to do things better, we need things to do. There's an enthusiasm about it. Enthusiasm is very key to this whole project. yeah, getting staff to accept change as a norm. Well, that's important. We don't want to give people the idea that it's always going to be changing and your job's never going to be secure. It's making it feel that things can be better rather than a state of permanent revolution, which is what I kind of say that as sometimes. But it's not a state of permanent revolution. It's basically making things better is the norm, improving things is the norm, and doesn't mean necessarily say that your job's going to change every 5 minutes. Now, in order to keep the community coming with us, we've had to be very open about and very communicative. So we had quarterly update sessions to the community. We've made sure we've done the quarterly update sessions in each campus, in the UK and abroad. No more than quarterly. We also make sure that so we can always find information. So SharePoint is a place where we have all, you can find out what the actual state of the project is, what our schedule is, what we've released. And then we also report up through the university's committees and through the hierarchy about what we're doing, etc. And we have a very nice visualization of our roadmap using something called Tiki-Talkie, which was rather good, where they can move through it in a journey and they can move back through it, and it's color-coded, and they can drill into each of these to find out, to expand it and find out what it is that we're delivering in each area. So there's a lot of communicative aspects to this. So yes, through the SARP projects we'll have modernized. What have I written down for that? Yeah, so it's about basically we'll have modernized, we'll have delivered efficiencies, we'll have focused on the whole student life cycle, and we'll have delivered a truly global university where it's not just that we have campuses everywhere and students are able to move between them, but actually we can manage that, and we can manage that effectively and efficiently, and that it feels like one good student experience that runs all the way through it. That's all. Simple. Any questions? Yes. Oh, I want Mike.
Hi. It's Neil Bickstaff, the University of Liverpool. You said delivered on a shoestring, and it looked about 2.25 million, which is probably 10 times less than some other institutions that I've heard of. If you had more money, would you have done it differently, or do you favour this as a methodology?
This is working for us. We just would have done, I think at this particular stage, if you give me more money, I could probably use it because, but no, I don't mean that seriously. If you flung money at me a while ago, we weren't ready for it, give money to me just now, and I got a team who, we have a software in place, and we have a list of things we need to deliver, and I could just start delivering them. So now the more money you give me, the faster I can deliver those. But I think earlier on, it wouldn't mean as much difference as it could do now. We'll deliver at the pace we can. Slower or faster, depending on the amount of money we have just now. Did I answer your question, or did I go off it? Right, fine. There was one over here.
Yeah, good afternoon. Mike Wyman, University of Aberdeen.
Hi.
I noticed you took a conscious decision not to backfill staff, and I wonder whether you did the costing to work out what backfill would have been. And secondly, I'm interested to know how you kept business as usual going with teams focusing on your programme.
Like I said, we stole time. So for the business analysts that we employed, they had to be backfilled because they're full-time positions. So the ones that we hired from internal the institution, they were. But in terms of the people who we got to be involved, we got them to be involved to saying, okay, this will improve things for your area of the university. And you'll be surprised how much flexibility there is if you manage to inspire people in terms of what they can do for you. So it is literally about inspiring people to do more for you and do it and to be really engaged with you. And sometimes it's just having frequent conversations with them, and for them to take a few time to send some emails on your behalf, to test something out for you, to dip into it, and to write something for you. And you can pull that resource together, and that actually makes an impact, and actually it helps you to move the whole thing forward in the direction that meets their needs, because they're heavily involved in it, or they're well involved in it. So it is about trying to get goodwill and inspiration and getting people inspired to help you out, and finding spaces in their spaces, because people work on a quite an even level, especially if they're not inspired. But if you inspire them, you can get more out of them. And it's literally that. I have a genius for it. No. No. No, we've done backfill before. For the implementation project for getting Banner around, we did backfill. And it was a quagmire. And we ended up with backfill of backfill, with people moving site, and we got so convoluted that actually when the implementation project finished, we spent several months trying to work through the complexities of how it got twisted, because people left, or people became promoted, or people's job got changed with the hero forms, or the jobs were no longer there that they were at before. So I'm not going to do that again.
Hi, Julie Bailey, UCL. Hi.
Oh, hello. Hi.
Do you think that using agile methodology helped engage people in the change?
Yes, so the elements of Agile which I would say carried on being successful was having product owners. So having people from the business who are the ones who are saying this is right, no, this is wrong, and having them involved frequently, so every 2 weeks within the sprints. The aspects of the methodology which we weren't very successful in doing is the idea of a self-actualizing, self-organizing team. Because a lot of things we were delivering at that point were quite linear, this, then this, then this, then this, then this. It didn't really work to have the team just popping in and grabbing things. But that could be my lack of experience in Agile, so I won't say that that's a be-all and end-all. But the elements of product owners and short sprints and making sure we got things out there to show people, that did work, and that helped to engage. Over there.
Hi there, Nina Graham, University of London. I was interested in the idea of how you inspired people to be engaged, and whether you just went for the people who were sort of natural enthusiasts, or whether you managed to turn around any people who were sort of change resistant at the start but got involved later.
You have to spot the change enthusiasts. As my experience, that's what we did. We spotted, whatever level they were at, we spotted the change enthusiasts. We didn't write off people who weren't. We continued to persuade and work on them. But the ones who actually, who jumped in and started helping out were the ones who, either they were new and were like, why are we doing it like this? Or else they'd been sitting there with anger about the fact they weren't doing things properly for years. So it was a whole gamut. But there was a change enthusiast that we pinpointed them, and sometimes, if they were really good, we tried to bring them into the team as one of the business analysts, and others we just continued to poach time off over the months and years. Hello.
So it's Stefan Kemp from University of Edinburgh. My question is, you wanted to improve certain processes and improve, like for example, the overnight jobs. What measures did you put in place, and how did you actually measure them, and did you get outcomes of these measures which you can prove that you actually improved your processes?
Yeah, we haven't got the resource to measure well. So some of the measurements that we do are more, I know some people in the room will absolutely hate this, are more professional judgment. Professional judgment is that having an overnight process that happens during the Malaysia working day, because it's not overnight for them, and means that applicants in Malaysia get 2 days before they get a response for us, when they need 2 hours to get a response to them. We just knew that was not going to work for us, so we needed to rethink how we did that. So there aren't many things. We've not historically been an institution which does a lot of measuring and then reevaluating against the measures. So we do a lot of things based on professional judgment and based on having discussions about what is best and looking at less data-driven approaches to measuring outcomes and change and success. Now that might change in the future, and no doubt it will, because I've noticed that institutions go through cycles of being extremely data-driven and then vying away from that and then coming data-driven again. So there's I think the thing is with data versus professional judgment is that as long as you occasionally change how you're doing things and use a different approach to how you're measuring what your outcomes are and what your success is, you keep refreshing. So don't stay with what you have, occasionally just change and do it differently. So I imagine that we'll go to more metrics based in the future, but just now, the problems were apparent, and overcoming the problems is also apparent. Some of the detail we'll lose with not having the data.
James Farnheld, University of Warwick. A quick question from me. What did you do with managers who were blockers? Did you have anybody who said, I'm just really not happy? I'm sort of really just building on the question over there. I'm really not happy with my member of staff doing this. They might be overjoyed about changing things, but I actually need them to do business as usual.
Well, it varies in success. We have sometimes got on without them, and other times we have had to bypass them, but some of them have just been a block. And for those that have just been a block, we've had to just find other ways of doing things. So we don't have a magic bullet for that either. It has varied.
So in terms of those other ways of doing things, how do you kind of work your way around the edge of a manager? Is it sort of senior level support or what?
Yes. So we have got senior level support from this, and so there has been one or two thou shouts, and there has been occasions where we've seconded someone.
Okay, thank you.
Rachel McCassie, University of Sheffield.
Oh, hello.
So, if I understood correctly, you got most of your BAs from the university.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was your approach to skilling people up so that they understood how a BA ought to operate? Could you tell us a bit about that?
Learning on the job.
Yeah.
So not very scientific approach to that either, though we are putting them all on a course in the new year.
Okay.
The people that we hired for being analytical and thoughtful about change and engaged with change. We look for qualities of a business analyst as opposed to the formality of it. And then as we go, we're just trying to show them how to do things in a structured fashion as we go. So it's on-the-job training, effectively.
And what have you got in place to make sure that they are kind of following that structured approach?
It's a very good question, which I would just have to hide from. I'm not doing a very good job of keeping an eye on that. Sometimes they go a bit off and you think, wait a second, those are not risks, those are issues. So my managerial prowess, which is not always perfect when it comes to spotting these things, is so far. But by getting them on a course at some point, I hope to kind of smarten up on some of that. It's been whistle stop. It's been like everyone in the deep end, and let's get on with this. And that has taken us quite far so far, and its trajectory is still good. But I think at this point, we are assessing how we're doing things, and we want to do things in a more structured fashion. Hence, I know that I need to get some of these business analysts on some training, because some of the stuff they've been doing has not been particularly well structured. And I think I need to review a bit about how the team are operating overall. So we're at a point where we have managed to get through 2 years on this momentum, but I think to get us further, we need to be more structured, both in training and within the team. So,
Thank you.
yeah, on the job.
Santa Lianage from Sheffield Hallam University. How do you manage? You said that you have 10 days sprint development.
Yes.
So how do you manage your testing process? Do you have separate test team to test,
No.
or how do you do
We don't have a
that?
separate test team. We stop over and people test each other's work.
All right.
So we're no longer working in 10. The reason I was saying about Agile is that the aspect of Agile is that we're using product owners and we're doing things in chunks.
Okay.
It still exists, but we're not working in 10-day. We're not working in Agile fashion anymore. We're getting things, we're finished, and then we're testing it. And we're testing it amongst the team, and we're testing it with our users. And because a lot of the things that we're delivering are kind of cloud-based services, so it's about configuration, then it lends itself to being tested by your users.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's not the way that we don't have to do the same testing as that the suppliers have to do, or we have to do when we're testing something that we've developed. It can be more UAT testing that can just prove that it works for us.
Okay. Do you write your test scripts based on your acceptance criteria or use cases, or how do you?
Not as thoroughly as we should.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Hi, this is Liz Moriarty. So I'm over here. Hello.
Hello.
So I'm a program manager at UE Bristol. So I kind of feel your pain in a lot of ways. And we're all very constrained in our teams. But what have you found to be the main risks that have manifested? And what have been the main trade-offs that you've accepted as an organisation as you cut your cloth according to what's available to you? So what's manifested?
What's the main risks? With not having much time to do training, there is the risk that people do things and they don't do things in a consistent way. So there is a kind of whistle-stop element to it, and that things can get dropped and mistakes can be made along the way. So there are risks because we're a small team trying to do so much, and you can't do it in as rigorous and scientific a way as you'd like if you had a big test team. And I've worked in departments where we had a test team and we had developers, and it was very rigorous with gates and stuff. I don't have that just now. So there are risks because there are risks because having a small team, and there are risks we're trying to do it in the way that we're doing it, just because there's a lot of things that are just non-standard, and we're just trying to get it to work. So you occasionally see a mistake made, and you occasionally see something that'll come out, and it'll only come out in live, and it'll come out when you think, that didn't work very well. But in the end, what tries to be, we can't have the luxury to stop. I know it's not luxury, we don't have the time to stop and go, okay, we'll spend 6 months making this a more rigorous process. The university wants change now, not next year.
But are you tracking for certain risks? So we have a similar situation in some ways where it's so-called best endeavours and work packages from academics, all that lovely stuff. But then are you tracking for maybe whether you've got faculty engagement, services engagement, pace, clarity of scope,
No.
the rate of change, kind of like main risk record pace points,
No,
stress
the
points.
risks are specific as opposed to, we don't have a series of things that we offer kind of measures, and we risk against the measures. The risks are specific and identified. So in an area, for a particular project, a particular work stream, the risks are this, this, and this. It could be a person who is really not cooperative, or it could be that, in fact, we've only got one person doing that particular stream, and that's a risk. They're specific and identifiable.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Hello. Hi. It's Tiger Wang, Kingston Uni.
Hello.
One of the key challenge my project team is facing is the benefit realizations. In your program, have you managed to present the tangible benefits, especially financial benefits?
We've not done it in benefits realization, no. And I think at the beginning of the project, at the beginning of the program, we did a number of PIDs, and those PIDs said in a more of an inspirational way, this is what we want to achieve with this, and here's the problems that we have. And you can look back and you can say those that we have achieved them, but 2 years later, we need those PIDs refreshed to refresh what we're trying to achieve at this particular point. We've got this far, and it's going well, but to see where we're going for the next period, we need to refresh those PIDs and really think about what we're going to do it. I don't know if we'll do it so the benefits realization, but I do like the way of doing that, and the way I've seen people doing it in terms of benefits realization, I think works really well. So I'm considering bringing that into the next set of PIDs, which I'm doing for the next year, 2 years. Oh, yes, over there.
Hi, my name is Maret. I'm from University of Westminster.
Hello.
I was wondering, did you have a dedicated technical team helping do the technical side of the project, or did you secure a team as and when they were needed?
We work with
And
the applications team and with the infrastructure team within IT, and they're very engaged. I mean, I'm going to be really careful what I say because my line of sight. Yep. Hello. Neil is the head of applications. So we work very closely with IT, and without them, we would never got to this stage. And we love IT and IT people. The foundation is the enabling project part of our stream. I can't really size this out, but the enabling project part of it was about getting all the upgrades to our systems ready and getting all the software in. And I think as we're moving on, what we need now is people who are good at, integration, because we're buying a lot of systems that sit, here's our core banner database, but we're buying kind of best of breed different systems, but they come from different suppliers, and so integration is an important strand of what we're doing next. So what we need now, we've had a lot of stuff getting upgraded, but now we need those joins to be done. And I think that's going to be the challenge for going forward, is getting more and more of those joins nice and secure. Does that answer your question? A bit big, maybe. Right?
Okay, I think we've nearly reached the end of questions, but one of the good things about being the chair is I can ask a question, another question. When you were putting the costs together at the beginning, did you write a business case that said it was going to cost you $750,000 a year for 3 years, or was that just a number that was given to you and then you had to make it fit within?
I put together a list of all the things that we wanted and the number of staff that we wanted, and it came up to a little bit more than that, but we're given that. So yeah, I did do a 3-year projection of how much it would cost, and we seem to have stuck quite well to that so far. So if we give it a little bit less than what we asked for, but we managed with that.
So really working on a shoestring. Well done for that. And also, can I ask you all to give Marcus a round of applause? It was wonderful.